2598.
And we're back with more from the co-chairs of the Congressional Future Caucus, Democrat Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii and Republican Aaron Schock of Illinois. The question is, how relevant are you, right? I mean, isn't this you may want to draw more young people into the process like yourselves. The truth is, a lot of your voters tend to be older. We had a lot more younger voters here in the last couple of cycles. So that was the truth. But how do you make the case that Congress is as relevant, that Washington is as relevant in people's lives, particularly when you see the political process stuck like this?
Well, I think people have woken up to, whether it be through the Affordable Care Act, whether it be through their cost of college if you're a student, the cost of your student loan even. Interest rates are governed by the federal government. So whether you're a single mom, whether you're a small business owner, whether you're a college student, I think people are starting to make the connection between what happens in Washington, D.C. I'll bet they may not be happy with it or they may not be pleased with the direction, but they're making the connection between what happens in Washington, D.C. and their own personal lives. And to Tulsi's point, I really see the younger members of Congress are people who are unafraid to venture out into perhaps areas where they ideologically their political parties don't typically go. In other words, my Democratic colleagues that are younger I see over on the Republican side of the House a lot more. My Republican younger members, I see them going out into different ethnic groups and college populations that may not tend to be as friendly to Republican candidates. And that's important for them, not only from a political standpoint, but from a policy standpoint. Because when you understand people's different views of the world, when you understand people who grew up and are living in radically different environments than you, it makes you a better policymaker and more willing to be a part of a governing majority.
Is part of the problem that members of Congress come with the expectation of staying longer than they should? Do you two think differently than that? Do you think I'm here for a limited time, then I'm going to move on? So maybe you want to stay in politics, maybe you don't, but that you're not here to really build up a lot of years?
There's no sense of entitlement, and this is something that Aaron and I found in common, that as we were running for office in our own districts, each of us approached it with the same mindset, in that we were applying for a job from the 750,000 people in our districts, and keeping that mindset at the forefront of the work that we do, that every 2 years we go back and we say, you know, are you happy with the work that I'm doing? If not, how can I do it better? And we're up for that assessment.
How do you feel about it in terms of your longevity?
Well, I certainly, I'm serving with people that have been in the institution longer than I've been alive. I have enormous respect for them. I think they add a degree of historical perspective. I do not wish to become one of them. So, you know, whether I'm here for 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, who knows? But yeah, I think more to the point than just how long do I want to be here, I think what we share is a view of the world that's differently. When you're in your 30s, you think about life differently than when you're in your 70s. And I don't think everybody in Congress should be mine or Tulsi's age, but when you look at Congress, there are far more people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s than people in their 30s. In fact, there's no one now serving in their 20s in Congress. And to your point, there were more 18 to 29-year-olds who voted in the last presidential race than in the senior citizen population. They're the most underrepresented demographic in America.
Final point on this, and I'm not picking on you, it's just it's so in the news. Do you worry that your caucus can't get as much attention as, say, what some people, including Republicans, call a more fringe caucus, the Tea Party folks in your own party in the House?
Well, I think what that's shown us is that the power of just 15 or 20 people, even within my own Republican conference, that can either help or hurt the overall effort, 15 or 20 people. So we think with 40 young people under the age of 40, and actually I've had quite a few 50 and 60-year-old men and women that I serve with come up and say, hey, I'm a little bit older than 40, but I still want to join your caucus and be a part of doing some big things. So I think a lot can be done with 20 or 30 or 40 people trying to move the ball down the court.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Good luck in all your efforts.
Thanks.
Appreciate you being here. All right. That's all for our conversation today, but you can follow it all week long at meetthepress.nbc.com. We'll be back next week. Now, stay tuned for President Obama's weekly address right after this short break.
This fall, it's time to fall back in love with your